Alex.
Alex is here too.
I'm lurking over here.
Lurking.
It's not on the screen on camera.
Yeah. Like on your phone, this one.
Now we're all going to go get quiet because Martin's recording.
Here. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm your host for the group, Martin Sines. Hey, Steve, how are you, sir? With Note Investing Made Easier. It is not Technology Appreciation Month. However, we desperately need to get this out in the open with this new system that Ali Morsad had developed with Podio. And it's really badass to just kind of use a Steve Lloyd term. And so I think it'll be a helpful tool to put it out there to the group as we're all kind of looking to enhance our CRM systems. We're looking to enhance borrower management and just all these other kinds of features as we all build our systems out as note investors. So I want to first have on Richard McGrew, who has been with us before during Technology Appreciation Month. And, he gave us a full demo on note rules and Podio and some of the things he's doing. So Richard, while we get started, why don't you just give us a little insight into Podio in general and how you've developed it for the note industry?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Martin. So Ali and I have been working together now. I guess it's been about the past couple of months working on building out the junior lien solution. I started a couple of years ago working on the first solution, which is what we presented on your site. What was it, about 4 months ago or so? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the solution, the difference is obviously Ali is focused on the junior lien position stuff, and that's great. I wanted to spend just a moment and talk about just general Podio for anybody who's not familiar with Podio. Podio is basically a database with a customizable front end where any person without a degree in engineering or anything else can go in and create their own forms and then have access to that data in an organized, structured way. Ali is going to talk about her apps that she's developed, which are these black little icons across the top row. And just wanted to orient you guys on the page. The blue bar just underneath the buttons you're used to seeing on your normal browser, that blue bar is Podio's menu bar, if you will. On the far left, you can select your workspace.
Richard, can you zoom in, or Ali, can you zoom in on this? Just so, yeah, for those that may have a blurrier screen or.
Ali, you can hit Control. Ali, you can hit Control Plus if you don't have a zoom on your mouse. Control Plus will make your screen bigger.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that blue bar across the top is it's a Podio feature. It allows you to have a menu, basically, like any application you're used to using. This is their menu. And the apps down below that are the black icons down below that are the icons that Ali has customized to create the solution for junior liens. On the far right of the menu bar, there's a bunch of icons over there. Podio is full of features that you get just by using Podio, things like chat and instant and messaging notifications, search capabilities They've got they've got 1 million plus users, so it's full of robust backup and storage capabilities. So we're building these solutions off of the baseline Podio and adding functionality and added value on top of the baseline Podio. But you've got that behind you when you're using these tools from Ali. She's going to go ahead and walk you guys through the app that she's built and show you how it works for junior liens.
Great. Before she does that, can you just let us know a little bit about your background? I mean, you sound like you know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks. So I've been at Intel Corporation for 21 years writing software. I'm a software guy. I'm a software developer and program manager. About 3 years ago, I got into the note investing business with the Eddie Speed crew doing first liens. Been doing that for 3 years. I've got 34 assets all across the Midwest. I realized right away as I was getting into the note business that I needed to be organized. In the first 6 months, I built out a Podio solution that allowed me to organize my data, because I knew I'm a systems guy at Intel. I've been successful because I always build systems in place before I get started or as I'm getting started, so I don't wind up lost later. And the note business is full of paper, it's full of people, it's full of all kinds of data that you've got to track. And I knew after I wanted to get to 80 notes. I haven't gotten there yet, but I wanted to get to 80, and I knew I would not be able to manage a business of that size with paper. So I started building this out, and then I got it built out, and about a year ago I realized there's a lot of people that could use what I'm providing. And that's when I started talking to people like Martin and others about, hey, can we start marketing this? Because there's a huge value opportunity for folks in the note business. Ali was telling me yesterday, one of the people she was talking with had paper all over the place for phone numbers for the same people they had contacted. They kept writing the piece of paper down, the same thing over and over and over again, because they forgot where that piece of paper was. This system here that she's put together, and the same thing for the first that we have, allows you to get organized and have all your data in your hand, on your cell phone, on your tablet, wherever you go. You can be in Mexico on a vacation and have all your data with you, and you can fire off and e-notarize on a document that you've got stored in the system and have it done while you're still drinking your beverages.
No, and that's great. And that was one of the things that, kind of feedback that you and I discussed was when you went through your Podio presentation, it was really geared towards the first, because that's the reality that's your sandbox. So you built it around your sandbox, and that's where I think it's important to do this follow-up Podio, podcast, so that we can kind of see another sandbox, and that's the sandbox I play in, and Ali and many others in the group. So yeah, let's kick it off. Ali, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so go ahead, tell us. I mean, we're all ears. We're all dying to go through the whole program. I know you're going to take us through everything, how you've set it up in full. But
yes.
Go ahead and give us a little background on why we're even here talking about Podio and what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. So for as long as I can remember, Martin's been in my ear. You should think about a CRM. You should think about a CRM. And, I was using Excel and it was working for me, and I had folders and everything was organized. But to get from one set of information to another set of information, I would have to click through many different folders, many different levels, because I had it all set up and organized. But I was losing track of data that I wasn't putting into the system because it was too many levels to click into. I just wasn't recording the data. So we're definitely guilty of it, writing the information down on a notepad and then having great intentions of putting that into the system, but it didn't happen. It was falling through the crack. So, we've just taken out a couple of big note deals in the past year. And, when you're onboarding 17 notes, 22 notes, that information is really important to keep track of. And especially in seconds, it's really complex. There's a lot of facets that you need to keep track of. And so I watched Richard's Facebook Live, and I was like, this is something that we need to do. And we jumped straight in, called Richard, got set up, and then I was like, I think I need to tailor this because, Richard's talking about his setup, and it was so good and excellent for first, but he's like, we can keep track of insurance and the property, more about the property. And I'm like, I need to know about the borrower because I'm in the seconds, and insurance, that doesn't even come across my radar, but I need to know taxes, and I need to do a title search. And so literally over 3 days, I just sat there in front of the computer, ignored my husband and child, and got the information in that I wanted or that I needed, and then spent the next probably 6 or 7 weeks playing around with all the formulas to try and get the calculations right and rewriting it. And we're in the process of onboarding 22 notes or 24 notes. And it's actually a joy to do because I've got the system now exactly where I want it. It's giving me the information. It's saving me time. It's saving me money in places that you wouldn't even realize because of the links that it creates. So an example of this is City of Philadelphia County is $15 a day to do title searches. Now, if I was doing this one by one manually, I wouldn't have noticed that 2 of my notes are Philadelphia County. So I could do 2 title searches for $15 as long as I did them within a 24-hour period. And that might seem like a small amount of money, but if you broaden that out to a big note portfolio, it's gonna add up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should have given Richard the heads up that you guys would be doing tweaks and giving feedback like only the A team can. And by A team, Allie and Alex, I'm referring to. Good. So I just checked in with everyone. Jay, thank you for that. He just let us know that he can see the screen clearly.
Okay,
So,
great.
Anytime you're ready, you can just jump in and walk us through it.
All right. So this is my baby here. I just love working on it. The biggest advantage for us is that we're a husband and wife team. And so Alex can be working on something, I can be working on something. We're getting feedback from each other through the system as well, but I'll go into that a little bit more. I wanted to start off with the assets screen here. So this is one of the apps that I created to track your notes, and this is a dummy screen. So this is not real information, but I tried to base it off what real figures would be. So in this screen here, you'll see some details here. You'll see an index on the side here, and then you'll see reports and add asset. So to add an asset, to input a note, and that's the process that I'm going to be taking you through tonight, is how to input a note into this system and how it populates for you and generates for you and can save you time. So I pressed here, add an asset, and this screen came up here. Now, this information is information that I have put into the system. So you actually start here with borrower last name, and I generally do the borrower last name in caps just to keep it different. I put in the borrower first name, the social security number, the date of birth, phone, email, mailing address, employer, borrower attorney, and borrower comments. And that basically sums up all the information that I need to know about the borrower at a glance. Now, if I have 2 phone numbers or 2 emails, you can write in the email or the phone number, and then you can add another. So it keeps track, especially in the seconds where you're trying to contact the borrower and you need to know what phone numbers work. You can, there is an other option. And then I would write down in the comments, this is potential phone number or something like that. So keeping track of all those phone numbers that you find during the skip tracing process is really important.
So you get the skip trace report, TLO, what have you, and then it gives you 9 phone numbers, and sure enough, only one works, and so this is how you manage that.
That's right. And what I would do is actually populate all 9 here, and then I would delete them out or say put notes against them, and then once I found a number that works, I would put it up here in the phone number section. Same with co-borrower. So co-borrower, quite often we have 2 borrowers that we're dealing with. Social security number, date of birth, phone, multiple again, and email, multiple again. And also the co-borrower mailing address, because sometimes that can be different if there's a divorce or separation. The next screen here is going to show you the property. And all of these links have back to the top because it can be quite a long form, so we can navigate through the page by using these links. When you populate in the asset address here, so this is actually a house that we used to live in, it will bring up a Google Map image automatically, magically, because I'm not a computer person, it's magic. The next option is to add in a property image, and you can add in as many as you want, and it's as simple as drag and drop. So they make it really easy, it's really user-friendly. I'll preface this by saying I'm not a computer person. I don't know what I'm doing, but I will play around with it until I can make it work, and then Richard's there over my shoulder making sure that I can do it effectively, so that's great.
You're very humble. You do a great job at it.
So this is one of the most exciting features that I think I've put together on this is this county section. So county, when you're working with seconds, knowing the information of the county takes a really long time. You can spend a lot of time digging, for your tax records and also title records. So to be able to centralize that, and not only centralize it, but use it for multiple times. So I've got a number of properties that are in the same counties. So that information is at your fingertips and you don't need to re-enter it. And that was my goal with this system, is to make sure that when I'm doing data entry, which I don't particularly enjoy, I'm only doing it once. So this actually, when you click here, will link to the county app, and you put in the city of Alexandria. This is automatically generates the Netter Online URL. So you can click on that, and what that will give you is a link, and I'll show you. You can pick any state here, and it will name the counties, and it will give you, hopefully, most of the time, it will give you the assessor's office for taxes. It will give you the online court records link, the county recorder link, and that gives you the ability to populate this screen and keep it as a contact under the city of Alexandria. So I know at a glance that if I click on this link and I put in the address details, I can find out ownership information, last paid date, next due, tax status, amount due, tax lien status, and mailing address. There's no subscription required. Title information, unfortunately, for the city of Alexandria, it is $500 per year or $50 per month. So a subscription is required, and I can use this information to say, hey, I might pull a pro title on this and spend that $115 on it instead of doing a title search because it seems inaccessible. I also have the contact number here, and if I wanted to, I could populate the address. So this is just information that I use regularly, especially when doing due diligence, and that's always linked back to the borrower here. Now, also what I didn't show you there is that when you scroll down, it actually shows you that I have 2 borrowers that are in this county, and that's where I came across today. I was doing title searches, and I found that 2 borrowers were in the same county, and it was the $15 for 24 hours. So I was able to do those title searches concurrently, and that saved me some time and money. Okay, so moving on from county, and I could go scroll down straight through property address. I put in the section, block, lot, the parcel number. Fair market value, if you'll notice here, is in caps lock, and that means that it's populated from another screen. So fair market value is actually populated from loan management, and it will be published here. So Richard has done a fabulous job of having some great links in here. So if you can see, it's automatically published with the address, the asset address in here. So when I click that, it automatically comes up with the property there, and I can quickly grab the amount of beds, bathrooms, the square feet, and some features of the home that I can use to fill out this section here. So bedrooms, bathrooms, original purchase price, last sold date. You can click here if it's owner occupied, investment, vacant, unauthorized tenants. All really good information to know. The schools, it's always good to know what's going on with the schools, and the crime is also good, and they're all color coded as well.
And this is great because when you're, when you're connecting with borrowers, especially on the second side, and you're trying to delve into their situation, this helps you navigate that conversation a little better. Say, hey, I know this is an investment property. Are you still looking to salvage it, or do you want to sell it? Just get to get past the default with the second, or this is your home, you've lived there for 13 years, I assume you want to stay, and it allows.
And even if the schools are excellent and they have a 6 and an 8-year-old, it's good information to know they probably want to stay in that school area.
Yep.
Our next section in assets is the original note details. So you can write whether it's a fixed rate, a variable rate, or a HELOC, original balance, the original note date, and the maturity, and then the originating company. Now, again, this links to companies this time, and you can keep track of the originating company, in this case, test originator, because quite often that's a repeat. So that information is all stored, and you can just pull that in. And it's as simple as just adding it. So I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to add it back. Or you can add.
So that's the originating company for the second or the first?
This is for the second, because we're talking about the original note.
Okay.
So the original note is the second that you've purchased. Sometimes it's good to keep a loan sale agreement, and anywhere that says link, you can just type or paste the web address. So I keep everything in Dropbox so that I can just copy the Dropbox link and then sit it in there, and it will populate there, and I can press on that and it will take me to the loan sale agreement. The purchasing entity, we are AM Squared Investment Group. That's really good when you're doing joint ventures, or even managing other people's notes, doing anything for someone else. You can keep track of that. Purchase price, recoverable expenses, I'll go through at a later point because that is in caps, so it's populated from a different screen. The purchase date, the seller, the prior servicer, always good to know and keep track of the prior servicer. Like, I couldn't even imagine me writing that into my old CRM. I just wouldn't have cared to put it in, but because it's at the click of a button, I have that information and it's not going anywhere, so that's great. And then your team, so your servicer, your attorney, your document management company, and you can actually have multiple fields. If you have more than one attorney working on something, if you have more than one document management company as well. So that is all of assets. So that is the information that you would put in on a note to populate the entire assets screen. Now what you want to do is we want to manage that note now. So we've got all the details in. Now we need to manage that note. So when we come into this screen here, which is loan management, I'll add a loan management screen and it will bring up this screen here. So at first, this screen won't be populated because this is a summary loan management overview of everything that's down below. Because there's so much information that you need to know with seconds, I've actually put a navigation bar throughout, so you can jump. If you find out a senior status, you can jump down to senior status. If you want to go back to the top to bankruptcy status, you can jump around through the page.
So this is your dashboard for that asset.
This is the dashboard for that asset.
And Alex is chiming in. The asset screen is primarily for information that doesn't change over time. So that's important to note.
He's heard me say that a few times. Yes. Yeah. So I just wanted to show you how easy it is here. So e-file. Now I still have my system, my folder system, to keep information like credit reports, PACER, skip tracing. I have property information, collateral information, legal, all this information that's great to have access to. Usually I would have to click through AM Squared Investment Group, notes, non-performing, and then go to the borrower and then go to this. But with this, I can just go up to the borrower here, copy the Dropbox, and paste it in here. So now I have one-click access, everything in my e-file. So that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
For correspondence here, I have a text box here for borrower correspondence, for attorney correspondence, for other correspondence. So for other correspondence, if your servicer needs something, any details that you can want to keep track of, and all I do is just pop the date in, pop whatever I need in there. and that will populate this borrower correspondence and keep it as a story so that you always have that information there.
And it sticks to the right under comments in that box.
So this is comments. Comments is used for a different purpose. We use comments on which relates to the individual note. So because I work with my husband, I'll say so I can tell him to check the credit report, or I can tell a third party. So in a case where I'm managing someone else's notes, I can give them an update, a quick snapshot of what I'm doing, what process I'm in, anything in those comments. So that's a good communication field. You can use tasks in Podio as well, and you can use this option here as next steps. So there's a lot of different avenues to communicate, which is really great. For monitoring, we've got non-performing. There's a drop-down box so you can choose what status the loan is. Hopefully it's in performing, because that's wonderful. Lien position second, but we also we own a couple of first position notes as well. So I've got first lien notes, hopefully no third lien notes, but it's there. And then stage, so this can be updated. Onboarding, borrower outreach, you can be with legal, paying in forbearance, paying in delinquent. So different avenues here for stage, and the same with legal status. So if there's no legal status, I just leave that blank. If you're negotiating workout, payoff, etc., you can have that populated there. Oh, first lien foreclosure is red. That's not what you want. So in strategy as well. So I like this field because it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot into what your strategy is going to be. And obviously that can change, but usually my strategy is borrower outreach for a loan modification. Or if
I'm thinking as I'm seeing you go through the screens here and all the fields, I'm just thinking if you have several partners on the note note purchase or the note workout, or you have an investor that's passive that wants to check in on things, they can have access to this, and
they can absolutely have access to this.
They can have real-time updates on where their files are at.
And they can have access to the whole workspace, or they can have access to individual assets as well.
It's also really nice. You can set up notifications so that they get notified if you make changes, and if you give them right access, they can make changes, and then you'll be notified if they make changes. So it's definitely interactive across both your employees and your external third parties.
Absolutely. And if you'll see here on the activity, it's recording everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great to keep all communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, so valuable. I've done a number of joint ventures where I spent the majority of my time asking what was going on, because I didn't know what was going on. And, I would want a monthly update or a 2-monthly update, and I would have to chase it every time. If we had a system like this, I could see exactly what was going on or not going on. So it gives you an insight there.
I was thinking not going on.
Yeah, right.
And if you're marketing and you've got an advertising website, you can publish a web form from any one of these pages and have that web form be dropped right into a web page, and they can see the fields that you want them to be able to see, and they can interact with them in that format.
The other option as well is, so I've just onboarded with an attorney, and I can send him the overview. I can send him the asset, so he has all the information that would give him the background information on this note. You could also use that when you're selling it. When you're selling an asset, you can give them the snapshot of the note, and everything is there. I think that could be a really good tool.
Yeah, that reminds me with when Alberto had Note Dashboard, and I used that initially for a few years, and it had Note, I think it was called Note Edge, where once the note became performing, it can funnel into the note sale exchange that he had. So that was kind of a neat feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So We're going to go a little bit deeper into the property now. Because this is the loan management screen, this is information that's going to change all the time. So you're going to want to keep addressing it, keep going back to it just to double check. So we've got the Zillow URL, and again, it's in caps because it's automatically populated here. But when you want to look at for fair market value, you want to look at a number of different websites, as many as they have. And this gives you the opportunity to add in the websites that are that have access. So say you want to go to realtor.com, you can just copy and paste, and then it's there forever. So you don't need to keep looking. The amount of times I've put an asset address into Google to pull up all these websites, and I know it's only a few seconds, but that times 100 notes is a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be interested if it could pull from Realty Track. I don't know. Have you tried? Because that's subscription based.
You'd have to have
I'd say.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Richard, you.
Yeah, so we're working on third-party integrations with people like that. There's no reason that we can't pull that data in. Realty Track has an API. If you've got an account, you can store your credentials and we can pull that data in. We are working with a couple of the major servicers out there to pull their data in. And if Realty Track is a high-value feature for our customers, we can absolutely get that coded up.
Also, Zillow has that feature as well.
Yeah.
So fair market value, I've looked at all of these, I've looked at the comps, and I've determined that the fair market value is $645,000, and I can put the date in. I can also put the history. So often I'll say, on the tape, it was represented as 625, and you can keep track of the history so you can see if the market is actually warm or hot, or if you can watch the market trends by recording your FMV history whenever you check the fair market value. So property story as well, nice townhouse, great neighborhood, good schools, just an overview here. Martin loves property stories and borrower stories.
Yeah, I do. On smaller note buys, you can't,
yes.
it's not as feasible on larger ones. But yeah, absolutely. Anytime you can really dig in to understand, everything about that note, property and borrower wise, the better.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump into the note now. We've got an unpaid balance of $90,000, the date that we put it in, the interest rate, the monthly payment. Now LTV and CLTV and equity over senior is all automatically populated. So this information is a calculation that's embedded into the system so that you don't need to work out the LTV, the CLTV, or the equity over the senior. That's automatically populating. So every time that's doing that, it's saving you time not having to do that calculation. The original balance we actually put in from the other screen, but it's good to know. So I bring the data over, and that's why it's in caps lock as well. And sometimes it's good to have notes about the original note, especially regarding late fees. Sometimes they can have really complex late fee structure. This is where we spend a lot of our time in the note workout. So Alex is the note workout guy, and he uses this time and date link. So I've put it in there for you because, again, having to populate a website takes time. So if you just click that, it's going to bring up your details for you and the time and date, usually quicker than that. But we're on Zoom and it slows everything down.
That's fine. You can just let them know, kind of you're getting the per diem, you're calculating late fees. And
that's right. So when you put in the last payment date and the next due date, you can use the last payment date in that calculator to work out how many days delinquent they are. And from there, per diem interest arrears gets automatically populated, and that helps you to calculate your note reinstatement and your note payoff. So once you have those fields populated, this note reinstatement and note payoff is automatically generated. Now I did put a notice that it is an estimate only, and you can get your servicer to verify, but it does give you an idea. Don't quote me on it, but it gives you an idea, rough idea of how the note reinstatement or the note payoff would be.
It gives you a better idea than what some of the servicers come up with.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. We find out services aren't perfect. So if your reinstatement is $22,000 and theirs is $11,000, you can go back to them and say, hey, what's going on here? So it's nice to be able to have that sort of control, that overview there.
I'm just thinking how many people were turning off to the second space with this webinar here. How complex there seemed like, wow, I thought seconds would be much easier.
Yeah, and it is complex, but it's worth it because you get those workouts with borrowers and you keep people in their homes and it makes your week. And it's a really good feeling. It's a really good market to be in, but it is complex. There's a lot to keep track of, and you can lose money. So that's where you want to be able to do your research. You want to be able to keep track of this information so that you can make informed decisions and keep all that data there at your fingertips. So that's why I find value in this.
Perfect.
Now, I have this automatically populated in my workspaces, but not everyone uses Credco. But if I click on this link here, it's going to take me to Credco, and for Credco, I need the borrower social. So I didn't need to type that in. In fact, I can't type in over it because it's been populated from the asset screen. So I don't like to do things twice. So I use that and the borrower's name and details, and I can generate a credit report. And then I can store the credit report that I've saved in my e-file separately here. And if I have 5 credit reports, they can all go in into this link area here. And I can't tell you how much time that saved me not having to click out and click into many different levels and different borrowers. I have their credit reports at my fingertips at all times. The same with skip tracing links. So if you have TLO or tracers, you can keep the reports there. So you always have that for your borrower, and you can then produce a great borrower story using that information above.
Yes.
The way I've done this is how I logically do my due diligence on a note. So the first thing I check is credit reports, I do my skip tracing, and then I jump into bankruptcy. So I tried to keep it as structured as possible to save time and also make sure that you're doing the same steps with every note and you're not missing anything. So that's value there as well.
So the value being that, this gives you the flow for due diligence. It allows you to capture all the information from due diligence, which will enhance the workout process.
And also will save you time. That's also a big deal. A lot of people have full-time jobs, so they do note investing on the side. So anything that you can do to save time helps. But also it gives you clues and guides on how to complete due diligence cheaper and more effectively. That was my goal. So I have the Pacer URL populated in here. That will take you to the login screen. So my login details are automatically saved. And so that's one click. And for Pacer, you need the borrower's social security number. So I have that there. All I do is copy it across, click the link, and I've got their bankruptcy history. So in this case, I've made it up, but it's a dismissed Chapter 13, and the bankruptcy status date is today.
So with BK type, would you do a box for just no BK, or is that the other box?
So this is just no BK up here.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So no BK or dismissed or active or discharged.
Okay.
And then that's your status. And then the type is either a 7, a 13, 11, or other. And you've got this comments section here, and you can add in any additional details that you want. If you want to put a case number in there or links or anything like that, you can do that.
Yeah, because I would always store the voluntary petition.
Yes. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Senior status. Something that you want to keep track of, because sometimes you get foreclosure information that you didn't realize that they were paying the second and not the first. So definitely a hint to you, a tip to everyone who's watching, make sure your first mortgage is being paid, or you can get foreclosed on, and that's not a good feeling. So senior lien holder, again, multiple times you are going to have the same senior lien holder. So I wanted all the details for that senior lien holder there. Now, senior status, is it current, delinquent 30, delinquent 60, 90, charged off, or unknown? Quite often it's unknown. And then your senior availability. Do you have third-party authorization? Do you have a credit report? Is there phone banking that you can do? Or is there an agent? or is it not available or unknown? So you can use this information to say, not waste time calling the bank or doing something or checking a credit report when it's not reporting. So you have that information there, again, to save you time. With the first mortgage, it's quite often pertinent to know a borrower's social security number and their date of birth. The senior information available. Will you find out the senior balance, the last paid date, the next due date, the monthly payments? And you'll use that information to publish the information in here, and then any comments. So you can say the senior's not reporting on credit. There's no use doing a credit report if the senior's not reporting on credit. So just keeping that information. This is information that we wouldn't keep. We would write down on a notepad, and it would become the next notepad, and we would lose track of it.
Yeah.
For taxes, you can see here county is the same, so City of Alexandria, but now we're using it to look at taxes. So I'm going to take my link, I can put in street number, street name, and press search, and I have their tax history.
I think we all have done the county search on the same property multiple times.
Multiple times.
For whatever, you need an additional piece of information, then you have to search for what county is this city in, and then we've all done that.
So many times, so many hours I've wasted looking, especially the recorder link. Sometimes that is hidden and you can't find it. But what I've done is, so you have the county there, and on there you have the Netter Online link, and then you put in the link, but you can also pull the link out to here, so you don't need to click on county. You can just have it right here. Online title search, yes. Actually, that one's just a yes. Title status, complete, incomplete, unknown. We don't know, oh, sorry, that I am in title. Title search, is it available? It is, but it's a subscription, and we know that it's $50 a month or $500 a year because that's published in the county space here. And then that is basically everything that you need for loan management. So that's everything that I use, and I check things regularly. I can set up tasks just by pressing T. I could set up a task, and it's assigned to this note, and say check taxes in 6 months, because I know that taxes are due in 5 months, and so in 6 months I can check and make sure that they've been paid.
So is that the tickler system? Are you able to go into your Podio and see everything that you have to do? Absolutely,
yes. So not only can you see it down here, it would publish all of the tasks that you need to do here, but also in your activity screen, it would come up, and I'll show you that in a minute. The next app I have is onboarding, and onboarding I use just as a basic overview, make sure everything is done. Up here you have the navigation again, you have the borrower, it's always linked to the asset, and you can use this link here to navigate. I can go to the asset by using this link here, clicking on this link. I have next steps and a follow-up date. I have all the different, for servicer, the different fields that you can click to make sure that in the process in your pipeline for getting your note boarded, and then the collateral status, getting it through to having it scanned to your e-file. And then I like to keep track of what's in my collateral files, your physical collateral files. So I can say whether there's a complete assignment chain, whether there's a lost note affidavit, and then I can write collateral comments like, I need to email the seller and say that I've got a lost note affidavit, but that's not going to fly in that county, and see if they can go back and find that note or anything like that. So you can keep track of the comments there, set up a task to contact the seller, or do anything that you need to cure any issues with the physical collateral. The next step I go through is recording. And so my recording status, I use Simplifile, so I have that in here. If you use a recorder, you could use that as well, a recording company, and I keep track of the recording date here, and then my due diligence. So I've confirmed the AVM, I've checked PACER, I've confirmed tax status, I've completed the title search, I've verified the senior balance, I've completed skip tracing, and my due diligence is done today. So when I scroll up to my screen here, everything is at 100%. So I don't even need to scroll down because I know that this is completely done. And I just do that for each asset just to keep track of, that's all done. I'm done with that note. And the summary on the top here is going to tell me exactly what's going on. So that could say 61% done, and I know that I still have stuff to do on that note.
So you'll see a list of all your assets in this field here.
Yep, you would just add them each time.
And so also too, in terms of income and expenses, you have a ledger. I don't know if you're going to
Absolutely.
touching on that.
This is a fantastic add-on by Richard that Richard's kindly sharing with everybody. So ledger, I will add a ledger for every asset that I have and save it. And then because everything is in caps, you know that you don't need to enter anything into this field. It's for information purposes only. So that's basically all that you need to do with the ledger screen. Expenses is something that I use all day, every day. Anytime that I spend any money, I record it as an expense.
Hey, Allie, maybe we should just explain what the ledger is. The purpose of the ledger is to summarize the expenses and the servicer statements all into one collection of data about a given asset, and then you link the ledger to the asset. That otherwise, if you had multiple service statements or multiple expenses, they would all show up as unique items inside the asset. The ledger allows us to collect it up into, say, basically a P&L for that asset.
Yeah, Rich is the computer guy. That's.
Yeah, I wonder how that overlaps with accounting software that you use, but probably if anything, if you need to get information on how much you spent with a servicer or what have you, you can capture that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can track your expenses quite well. I advise everybody to use an accountant. If you're in this business, this is not a business for using Excel to report your taxes. You need to, or even Podio, you need to use QuickBooks and you need to have a CPA. I believe that's the right answer. This is big business.
But this is perfect if you have investors that are investing with you, or some type of partnership arrangement where everyone can track expenses and income.
That's right, and know who owes who what. It's all can be tracked in here.
And not only that, but some expenses are recoverable expenses. So I've got legal fees that of a $2,000 legal bill, $1,100 is recoverable. So I can add that into my reinstatement. Or my payoff. So
I don't know that would be that would be interesting. Like on QuickBooks, if you would have a bucket for recoverable expenses, right. You probably don't want to do something like that. That's kind of a weird bucket to have for QuickBooks, but you would have that in Podio, knowing that when it comes time for a payoff statement or something, you would have that information there. Right.
Absolutely. So this is what your expenses looks like, and it's linked to this asset. So I'll be able to keep track of exactly how much I've spent on this asset. It's linked to the company, my company, AM Squared Investment Group. I spent the money there on April 3rd, and the expense amount was $1,100. It was a legal expense. It was submitted, approved, distributed, and it was paid to my attorney, who I pay very well. By AM Squared Investment Group. Is it a recoverable expense? Yes. So it populates this screen here to 1,100. Is it to be reimbursed? No. Now, what I use to be reimbursed is I manage people's notes on their behalf. So if I usually pay for either a credit report or I pay for recording fees, management fees, anything like that, I can put in the amount and I can say yes to be reimbursed. It will populate here and I can automatically generate a report on how much I am owed. When I get paid, I can come back and I can say it's been done and it zeroes it back out. Not only can I see that, but my business partner can see that. And so he can see exactly how much he owes, what that expense was for, what that asset was, and he can cut a check, send it to me, and I can clear that out. it's a really great way to manage that sort of thing there.
And if he's got any questions, he can click right into the software and figure out what the expense was for, and then click out, and you never get the question in your inbox because he took care of it himself because he could see your system.
That's right. So incoming here is quite similar. I did not do a test here because I'll do it now. So I'm linking that to the asset, I'm saving it, and then you can put in the transaction date, the amount, the transaction type, the status, and the comments. So very similar. And if you see here, you can see my balance is negative 27,155, which includes the purchase price, the expenses, and of those expenses, I know that $1,100 is recoverable.
And that's the ledger that you're looking at up there. That's the ledger balance. So the ledger is taking all the expenses, all the incoming, and summarizing all of it up so that you can see a snapshot of what your current balance is on that asset.
That's right.
That's great. And Ali, you've done, you've had quite a progression. You've picked up a number of notes for yourself. You've been loan modding those notes, and then you now have other investors that are giving you their notes to manage as an asset manager. So from that point, you needed to be more organized and have a robust system that's more transparent to other investors who are giving you their assets. And then now you've put in an additional commitment into maintaining and growing this system, because that's exactly what you're doing. You are enhancing this system on an ongoing basis. Right.
We take that aspect really seriously. Managing someone else's money, someone else trusting us with their money is very serious. And, we do his work before we do our own. That's our policy. We're always working on his notes, making sure everything is done. It has been so wonderful because, we are waiting on an NCCI report, a door knocker report. I get the report, I upload it into Podio, and he has access to it straight away. So he can see at the same time as me. He can just click on a button and it's there. He can click on the credit report that I pulled today and have a look, and he can see my summary on it. So it's really interactive.
Yeah. Hey, Martin, I'm curious. So you pointed out that Ali is using this because she's moved to that next level where she's got quite a bit of assets and managing other people's money. What's your thoughts on this person who's starting up and whether they need to get involved in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, everyone should begin with the end in mind, right? So if you have 2 notes, you need to be building your systems as if you had 100 notes, and that's how you're going to grow to 100 notes. Yeah. And this system is one of the ways to do it. Now, I know having multiple conversations and kind of seeing this system unfold, as Ali's been putting it together, I know that there's a big cost and cost factor and time factor and everything involved. I know also too that Ali's using it. I'm actually getting set up now myself as a user, as I'm seeking to get more organized with my portfolio. So with that said, Ali, you're going to be offering this to our group at a discount, and after we're done here, I'm going to put the link and the discount code on the post here, and that way anybody that's interested. Now, what's unique about this is that I think what's really neat about it, I should say, is that you're given a real customized feel here. So you would go and set up a Zoom call and do a one-on-one connection with that person who's looking to get set up for themselves with this system, and you're going to help them get it set up with their notes as part of the process and of providing this service to them.
Yeah, that's correct.
So
I think once I take you through putting in a note, so I can help you put in a note, we can import data for you. as well. So you don't need to do a lot of the data entry. That would be taken care of. But it just really gives you the opportunity to see the system, how it's working, and then you can add in your information from there.
So other than Rudy Willis on this webinar now, why would someone, why would you caution someone from kind of setting this up for themselves based on this video?
Why would I encourage someone not to use it?
No, not to set it up for themselves, not like just kind of go, off script, kind of look at all these fields and kind of set it up for themselves.
Yeah, don't do what I did, because I just went out and I copied and pasted and I Googled, and then I would change something and it would break somewhere, and then Richard would have to help me figure it out, or, we had to keep changing things over and over and over and over again. And I mean, if you see the calculations behind these, in the template screen,
show some calculations.
Inches and inches long here.
And the way that I answer that question always, Martin, is, like I think I said on our Facebook Live last time, I think there's two different classes of people. You've got folks like Allie and myself who love to tinker with software and spend all day and all night, right, modifying these apps and getting them just right. And there's a bunch of folks that just want to buy their notes, and they just want to go back and hang out with their family and do their day job and do their night job, right? They don't want another job managing it. If you're in that primary category like Allie and I, no matter what we say, you're probably going to build your own solution. But for everybody else who wants to just use a system that's pretty well baked, this is a turnkey solution and it just works.
No, great. I mean, like you guys know, I'm going to be buying. That's me. I'm going to be paying for this system. So myself. So
the other thing to point out, what Allie has shown you guys is just the essential version. We're working on a plus version that adds a bunch of features that are significant integration and add-ons to this. I think you're really going to like.
Yeah.
There's a maintenance element to
Absolutely.
This whole system here.
Yep. Everything that we work on, we can update into your system.
Yep.
Perfect.
We can keep that coming. I just wanted to show you one last overview here.
Please.
We filled out all the details. I can go back into my asset screen, and we filled out the details, and all of this information is at your fingertips. So if you're talking to a borrower, you can have this information up here, and then you can click and jump over to loan management and discuss anything. If I'm talking to an attorney, or even if I'm going to sell it or look at a strategy, I can look at all of these fields here and get a glimpse of my entire note status. And this gives me all the information that I would need, that I would see in an entire Excel spreadsheet. There wasn't ever a summary. It was all spread out. The data was all spread out. So this is all organized here for you.
Yeah, you're organization on steroids. So you're more organized with due diligence, so you're going to make better decisions. You're more organized on the asset management side, so you're going to have better workouts. You're capturing better borrower and property stories, so you're just going to have better dialogue and better loan modifications. And
you don't even need to own this note to put this into the system. I've designed it that you can use it for due diligence. You can put in the basic asset details and then do the loan management. And you look at this status overview and you see non-performing, second loan, legal senior status unknown, bankruptcy status in BK, tax status unknown, title status incomplete. That might not be something that you want to buy. So you can use it as a tool for due diligence as well, even pre-purchase. That's how I wanted to set it up as well.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Allie and Richard. We appreciate your time, and I think a lot of people are going to watch this video because everyone's always, wanting to upgrade or enhance what they're doing from a technology and system standpoint.
If I could have had this from day one, I can't tell you how much better organized I would be. I probably would have made some different decisions.
Absolutely.
And I just would have had that information forever. Like, the more history that you can have, the better with any note. And even when you're selling a note, or if you're keeping it for the next 30 years, it's so important to keep track of that information, especially if you get involved in legal and there's a, the borrower saying that you've said something and you have a history of your borrower correspondence, and so it's information that supports. I don't always, to this point, I hadn't always been writing down everything the borrower said, but if I've got my keyboard in front of me, I can just type it up straight after my phone call and keep that record.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you have 5 notes, then you can keep it all up in your noggin. But if you have 50 or 100 notes and on up, it just gets all blurry.
I tell you, even when I had 5 notes, it was still.
and even with 5 notes, things go wrong, and if you're not tracking them, you won't know about it. You wind up losing an asset because you weren't tracking it.
Or how do you know how much you want to sell a note for when you don't know what your expenses are? I can literally look here and I see that, my expenses are $1,155 to date, and I paid $26,000. If I get an offer of $25,000, I can see straight away that's not gonna, be good for me.
Absolutely. Well, very good. Well, thank you guys, and appreciate your time, and you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming on and showing us your program here.
Awesome.
Thanks
for having us.
Yep. Take care, everyone.